General Thomas Groves gazed glumly at the battle maps on the wall. The thin black line, the iron ring around Ganymede, was still there. He waited a moment, vaguely hoping, but the line did not go away. At last he turned and made his way out of the chart wing, past the row of desks. And at the door, Major Siller stopped him. "What's wrong, sir? No change in the war?" "No change." "Well, what'll we do?" "Come to terms. Their terms. We can't let it drag on another month. Everybody knows that. They know that. Licked by a little outfit like Ganymede. If only we had more time, but we don't. The ship must be out in deep space again, right away. If we have to capitulate to get them out, then let's do it. Ganymede." He spat. "If we could only break them. But by the time we broke them, the colonies, they wouldn't exist. Yeah. We have to get our cradles back into our own hands. Even if it takes capitulation to do it. No other way to do it, Sue? You find another way if you can." Groves pushed past Siller out in the corridor. "And if you find it, let me know." The war had been going on for 2 Terran months, with no sign of a break. The System Senate's difficult position came from the fact that Ganymede was the jump-off point between the system and its precarious network of colonies at Proxima Centauri. All ships leaving the system for deep space were launched from the immense space cradles on Ganymede. There were no other cradles. Ganymede had been agreed to as the jump-off point, and the cradles had been constructed there. The Ganymedians became rich, hauling freight and supplies in their tubby little ships. And over a period of time, more and more Gany ships took to the sky, freighters and cruisers and patrol ships. One day, this odd fleet landed among the space cradles, killed the imprisoned the Terrans and the Martian guards, and proclaimed that Ganymede and the cradles were their property. If the Senate wanted to use the cradles, they paid, and paid plenty. 20% of all freighted goods turned over to the Gany Emperor, left on the moon. Full Senate representation. If the Senate fleet tried to take back the cradle by force, the cradles would be destroyed. The Ganymedes had already mined them, and the Gany fleet surrounded the moon, a little ring of hard steel. If the Senate fleet tried to break through, seize the moon, it would end the cradles. What could the system do? And at Proxima, the colonies were starving. "You're certain we can't launch ships into deep space from regular fields?" a Martian senator asked. Only Class 1 ships have any chance to reach the colonies," Commander James Carmichael said wearily. "A Class 1 ship is 10 times the size of a regular intra-system ship. A Class 1 ship needs a cradle miles deep, miles wide even. You can't launch a ship that size from a meadow." There was silence. The great Senate chambers were full, crowded to capacity, and representatives from all 9 planets. "The Proxima colonies won't last another 20 days, Dr. Bassett testified. "That means we must get a ship on the way sometime next week. Otherwise, when we do get there, we won't find anyone alive." "When will we launch the new Luna Cradle?" "A month," Carmichael answered. No sooner, sir." "No." "Then apparently we'll have to accept Ganymede's terms." The senator snorted with disgust. 9 planets, and 1 wretched little moon. How dare they want equal voice with the system members? "We could break their ring They'll destroy the cradle without hesitation if we do.
If only we could get supplies to the colonies without using space cradles,
A Plutonian senator said. That would mean without a Class 1 ship, though, wouldn't it?
Yes? Will nothing else reach Proxima?
Nothing that we know of. The Saturn senator arose.
Commander, what kind of ships does Ganymede use? They're different from our own.
Yeah. No one knows anything about them.
How are they launched?
The usual way, from fields.
Do you think...
I don't think they're deep space ships. I already know what you're asking. We're beginning to grasp at straws here, gentlemen. There's simply no ship large enough to cross deep space that doesn't require a space cradle. That's the fact we must accept.
A motion is already before the Senate. Do we accept the proposal of the Ganymedians and conclude the war? Shall we take the vote? Or are there any more questions?
No one blinked.
Then we will begin. Mercury, what is the vote of the first planet?
Mercury votes to accept the enemy's terms.
Venus, what does Venus vote? Venus votes?
Wait! Commander Carmichael stood up suddenly. The Senate leader raised his head.
What is it? The Senate is voting.
Carmichael gazed down intently at a foil strip that had been shot to him across the chamber from the chart wing. I don't know how important this is, but I think perhaps the Senate should know about it before it votes.
Oh, what is it?
I have a message from the first line. A Martian raider has surprised and captured a Gani research station on an asteroid between Mars and Jupiter. A large quantity of Gani equipment has been taken intact, including a Gani ship, a new ship, undergoing tests at the station. And the Gani staff were destroyed, but the prize ship is undamaged. And the raider is bringing it here, so it can be examined by experts. A murmur broke out through the chamber.
I put forth a motion that we withhold our decision until the Ganymedian ship has been examined.
The Ganymedians have put a lot of energy into designing ships. Their ships are strange, quite different from ours on Mars.
What is the vote on the motion? Shall we wait until this ship can be examined?
And the voices cried, let's wait, let's see. Carmichael rubbed his jaw thoughtfully. Yeah, I think you're right, it's worth a try, but if nothing comes of this, we'll have to go ahead and capitulate. Anyhow, it's worth looking into. A Gani ship. Dr. Earl Bassett's face was red with delight.
Let me by.
He pushed through the rows of uniformed officers.
Please, let me by.
Two shiny lieutenants stepped out of his way and he saw for the first time the great globe of steel and Rexinoid that was the captured Ganymedian ship.
Look at it, sir. Nothing at all like our own ships. What makes it run?
Well, it doesn't have any drive jets. Only landing jets to set her down. So, what makes her go? The Ganymedian globe rested quietly in the center of the Terran experimental laboratory, rising up from the circle of men like a great bubble. It was a beautiful ship, glimmering with an even metallic fire, shimmering and radiating cold light.
It gives you a strange feeling,
General Grove said. Suddenly he caught his breath. You don't suppose this could be a gravity drive ship? I mean, the Ganis were supposed to be experimenting with gravity.
What's that?
Bassett said. Well, a gravity drive ship would reach its destination without time lapse. The velocity of gravity is infinite. It can't be measured. This globe is nonsense, Carmichael said. Einstein showed gravity isn't a force but a war page, a space war page.
But couldn't the ship be built using... Gentlemen!
The Senate leader came quickly into the laboratory surrounded by his guards.
Is this the ship? Is this the globe?
The officers pulled back and the senator leader went gingerly up to the great gleaming side, and he touched it.
It's undamaged,
Siller said.
They're translating the control markings so we can use it.
So, this is a Ganymedian ship. That's good. But will it help us? We don't know yet. Here comes the Think Man, Grove said, and the hatch of the globe had opened. Two men in white lab uniforms were stepping carefully down carrying a Samantha box.
What are the results?
The Senate leader asked. We've made the translations. A Terran crew could operate the ship now. All the controls are marked.
We should make a study of the engines before we try to ship out,
Dr. Bassett said.
What do we know about it? We don't know what makes it run or what makes it fuel.
Well, how long would such a study take? Several days, at least.
That long?
There's no telling what we'll run into. We made a radically new type of drive and fuel. It might even take several weeks to finish the analysis. The Senate leader pondered. Sir, I think we should go ahead and have a test run. We can easily raise a volunteer crew. Yeah, a trial run could begin at once, Grove said. But we might have to wait weeks for the drive analysis. You believe a complete crew would volunteer? Don't worry about that. 4 men would do it, 3 outside me. Yeah? Well, how about 2 more men? Count me in.
Well, how about me, sir?
Major Siller said hopefully. Dr. Bassett pushed off nervously.
Is it all right for a civilian to volunteer? I'm curious about all this.
Why not?
It can be good of you, and good use of you. So, the crew appears to already be here.
The 4 men grinned at each other. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's get her started. The linguist traced a meter reading with his finger. You can see the Gani markings. Next to each we put the Terran equivalent. There's one hitch though. We know the Gani word for, say, 5, that's Zoff. So where we need Zoff, we mark a 5 for you. See this dial? Where the arrow is at the nest, that's 0. That's how we've marked it. Carmichael nodded. Yes, so? This is the problem. We don't know what the units refer to. 5, but 5 of what? 50, but 50 of what? Presumably velocity. Or is it distance? Since no one's studied any of this, how are we supposed to know? You can't just interpret? How? Obviously, this throws the drive on. See, it starts. You close the switch and indicates to stop. But how you guide the ship's a different matter. We can't tell you what that matter even is. Grove touched a wheel. So, this doesn't just guide her? It governs the brake rockets and the landing jets. As for the central drive, we don't know what it is or how you control it. Once you're started, semantics won't help you, only experience. We can translate numbers only into numbers, sir. Groves and Carmichael looked at each other. Well, we may find ourselves lost in space, or falling into the sun. I saw a ship spiral into the sun once, faster. Yeah, well, we're a long way from the sun. We'll point her out, toward Pluto. We'll get control eventually. You don't want to unvolunteer now, do you? If Of course not. What about the rest of you? You're still coming along?
Certainly. We're coming.
Yeah. Make sure you seal your helmets correctly then. Your shoes after that. Commander, they're finishing on the vid screens. I wanted if installed so we could establish contact. We might need some help getting back. Yeah, good idea. Self-contained power unit? For safety's sake. Independent from the ship. Carmichael sat down before the vid screen, clicking it on. The local monitor appeared. Get me the garrison station on Mars. Commander Vecchi. The call locked through. Carmichael began to lace his boots and leggings while he waited. He was lowering his helmet into place when the screen glowed into life, and Vecchi's dark features formed. Greetings, Commander Carmichael. You are going on a trip, I hear, Commander. Yeah, we may just visit you. We're about to take the captured Gani ship up. If everything goes right, I hope to see her down on your field sometime later today. Well, we have a field cleared and ready for you. Better have emergency equipment on hand. We're still unsure of the controls. Well, I wish you luck. I can see the interior of your ship. What drive is it? We don't know yet, that's the problem. Well, hope you'll be able to land, Commander. Thanks. So do we. Carmichael broke the connection, and Groves and Scylla were already dressed. They were helping Bassett tighten the screw locks on his earphones. We're ready, Groves said, and he looked through the port, and outside a circle of officers watched silently. Say goodbye. This may be our last minute on Terra.
Is there really much danger?
And Groves sat down beside Carmichael on the control board. Ready? His voice came to Carmichael through his phones. Ready. Carmichael reached out his glove toward the switch marked Mel. Here we go, boys. Hold on tight. And he grasped the switch firmly and pulled. They were falling through space. The doctor shouted for help. He slid across the upended floor, crashing against a table. Carmichael and Groves hung on grimly, trying to keep their places at the board. The globe was spinning, dropping, setting lower and lower through a heavy set of rain. And below them, visible through the port, was a vast rolling ocean, an endless expanse of blue water, as far as the eye could see. And Scylla stared down at it, on his hands and knees, sliding with the globe. Commander, where should we be? Someplace off Mars. This can't be Mars. And Groves flipped the brake rocket switches, one after another, and the globe shuddered as the rocket came on, bursting into life around them. Easy does it. Ocean? What in the... The globe leveled off, shooting rapidly above the water, parallel to the surface. And Scylla got slowly to his feet, hanging onto the railing, and he helped Bassett up. Okay, Doc?
Thanks. Where are we? On Mars already?
We're here. Or we're there. But it's not Mars.
I thought we were going to Mars.
Yeah, so do the rest of us. You can see this isn't Mars.
And what is it?
I don't know. We'll find out though, Commander. Watch the starboard jet, it's overbalancing. Carmichael adjusted. Where do you think we are? I don't understand it. Are we on Terra, Venus? Well, I'll soon find out if we're on Terra. He raised the all-wave control and the screen remained blank. We're not on Terra. We're not anywhere in the system. No response.
Try the frequency of the big Mars cinder.
Groves adjusted the dial. At the spot where the Mars cinder should have come in, there was nothing. The four men gaped foolishly at the screen.
Lord! We're out of the system.
Yeah, not in the system. Notice the horizontal curve. This is a small planet we're on. Maybe a moon, but it's no planet or moon I've ever seen before. Not in the system. Not in the Proxima. Yeah. The units must be big multiples, alright. We're out of the system. Perhaps all the way around the galaxy.
I don't see any stars.
Yeah, later on we can get a star reading. We're on the other side, away from the sun. Ocean. Miles of it. And a good temperature. Maybe we won't need these after all. He removed his helmet cautiously. Better leave them on, till we can get an atmosphere check at least. Isn't there a check tube on the bubble? I don't see any. It doesn't matter. Sir! Siller exclaimed. Land! Land! They ran to the port. Land was rising into view on the horizon of the planet. A long, low strip of land, a coastline. They could see green. Land was fertile. I'll turn her a little right. How's this? You're heading right toward it. Well, at least we won't drown. I wonder where we are. How will we know? What if the star map can be equated? We can take a spectroscopic analysis, try to find a known star.
We're almost there. You better slow us down, General. We'll crash,
the doctor said nervously. I'm doing the best I can. Any mountains or peaks?
No. Seems quite flat, like a plane.
The globe dropped lower and lower, slowing down. Green scenery whipped past them. Far off a row of meager hills came finally into view, and the globe was barely skimming now.
Easy, easy. Too fast.
All the brakes were firing. The globe was a bedlam of noise, knocked back and forth as the jets fired. Gradually, it lost velocity until it was almost hanging in the sky. Cut the rockets! The pilots snapped their switches. Any moment... Plop.
We're down! We're down!
And they unscrewed the hatch cautiously, their helmets tightly in place. Siller held a Boris gun ready as Groves and Carmichael swung the heavy Rexinoid disc back. A blast of warm air rolled through.
See anything?
Nothing. Tiny plants. Thousands of them. I don't know what kind. The other men stepped out. Which way, sir? Toward the hills? Might as well. What a flat planet.
It's a harmless-looking place. What are they? Some kind of weed?
Stop! Siller froze, rigid, his gun raised.
What is it?
Something moved. Through the patch of shrubbery over there. And they waited. Everything was quiet around them, and a faint breeze eluded through the surface of the green. The sky overhead was clear, warm blue with a faint cloud.
What did it look like?
Some insect. Wait. Siller crossed the path of the plants. He kicked at them, but found nothing. It's all right. Better to shoot first on a strange planet, Groves said. Carmichael went on ahead, up a low rise.
Wait for me,
Bassett called. He fell behind the others.
I have something in my boot.
You can catch up. What's the matter? Are you all right, Doctor?
Sir, a tiny man just fired an arrow at me. Sir, a tiny man just fired an arrow at me.
Really?
There's a whole bunch of them now.
Are you out of your mind?
No!
Bassett scrambled to his feet. A volley of arrows rose up, sticking into his suit, glancing off his helmet. and the shrill voices of the tiny men came to his ears, an excited, penetrating sound.
General, come back here!
And Groves and Siller appeared at the top of the ridge. Bassett, you must be out of your... But they stopped, transfixed. Siller raised the Boris gun, but Groves pushed the muzzle down. Impossible. He advanced, staring down at the ground. An arrow pinged against his helmet. Little men with bows and arrows. Suddenly the little men turned and fled, and they raced off, some on foot, some on horseback, back through the weeds and out the other side.
There they go. Shall we follow them, sir? See where they live?
It isn't possible. No planet has yielded tiny human beings like this. So small. Did I really see it? You men saw it too, right? Tiny figures just racing away. Groves pulled an arrow from his suit. We saw. We felt it. Look, the tip glitters. It's a metal tip. Did you notice their costumes? In a storybook I once read Robin Hood, little caps, boots. A story. Groves rubbed his jaw, a strange look suddenly glinting in his eyes. A book.
What, sir?
Siller said. Nothing. Let's follow them. I want to see their city. He increased his pace, walking with great strides after the tiny men, who had not very far off yet.
Come on, before they get away, Siller said.
He and Carmichael and Bassett followed through behind Groves, catching up with him. The four of them kept pace with the tiny men, who were hurrying away as fast as they could. After a time, one of the tiny men stopped, throwing himself down on the ground, and the others hesitated, looking back.
Look, he's tired out. He can't make it.
The shrill squeaks rose. He was being urged on. Give him a hand, the doctor said, and he bent down, picking the tiny figure up. He held him carefully between his gloved fingers, turning him around and around. What is it?
He stung me, sir.
Bassett massaged his thumb. Stung you? Stabbed, I mean. With his sword. You'll be fine. Groves went on after the tiny figures.
Sir, this certainly makes the Ganymede problem seem remote.
Yeah, it feels like a long way off. I wonder what their city will be like. I think I know. You know? How? Bassett did not answer. He seemed to be in deep thought, watching the figures on the ground intently.
Come on. Let's not lose them.
They stood together, none of them speaking. Ahead, down a long slope, lay a miniature city, and the tiny figures had fled into it across a drawbridge. Now the bridge was rising, and it lifted them like almost invisible threads, and even as they watched, the bridge snapped shut.
Well, Doc, is this what you expected?
It's exactly what I expected. The city was walled, built on gray stone. It was surrounded by a little moat. Countless spires rose up, a conglomeration of peaks and gables, tops of buildings. There was furious activity going on inside the city, a cacophony of shrill sound that countless throats drifted across the moat to the four men. It grew louder each moment. At the walls of the city, figures appeared, soldiers in armor peering across the moat at them. Suddenly the drawbridge quivered and began to slide down, descending into position. There was a pause.
Look! Here they come!
Siller raised his gun.
Look at them, sir!
And a horde of armored men on horseback clattered across the drawbridge, spilling out onto the ground beyond. They came straight toward the four spacesuited men, the sun sparkling against their shields and spears.
There were hundreds of them, decked with streamers and banners and pennants of all colors and sizes. An impressive thing to look at. Get ready. They mean business, boys. Watch your legs. The first wave of horsemen reached Groves, who was standing a little ahead of the others. A ring of warriors surrounded him, little glittering armored and plumed figures, and they were hacking furiously at his ankles with miniature swords. Cut it out. Stop. Hey, you're going to give us trouble. Shall I give it to them, sir? One blast from this gun, sir? No. Don't fire, that's an order. Groves moved back as a phalanx of horses rushed back toward him. He swung his legs, spilling them over with heavy boots, and a frantic mess of men and horses struggled to right themselves. Back! Those archers are back! And the countless men on foot were rushing from the city with long bows and quivers strapped to their back. A chaos of shrill sound filled the air. Yeah, he's right. His leggings had been hacked clean through by determined knights who had dismounted and were swinging again and again, trying to chop him down. If we're going to fire, we better retreat. They're kinda tough, boys. And the clouds of arrows rained down on them. They know how to shoot. These men, they're trained soldiers. Watch out. They're trying to get between us. Picking us off, one by one. He moved toward Carmichael nervously. Sir, let's get out of here. Do you hear them? They're mad. They don't like us. And the four men retreated, backing away. And gradually, the tiny figures stopped following, pausing to reorganize their lines. Lucky for us, we have our suits on at least. This isn't funny anymore. Siller bent down and pulled up a clump of weeds. He tossed the clump at the line of knights and they scattered. Let's go. Let's leave. Leave? Let's get out of here. I can't believe it. Must be some kind of hypnosis, some kind of control of our minds. This can't be real, gentlemen. Siller caught his arm. Are you all right? What's the matter, Doctor? Bassett's face was contorted strangely. I can't accept it. Shakes the whole fabric of the universe. Why? What do you mean, Doctor? Groves put his hand on Bassett's shoulder. Take it easy, Doctor. But, General... I know what you're thinking. But it can't be. There must be some rational explanation. There has to be. It has to be a coincidence. It has to be a story. It just seems like this place. The resemblance is only... What are you two talking about? Carmichael said. This place. We've got to get out of here. We're caught in a mind web of some sort. What are you talking about? Do you know where we are? We can't be there. Where? No. I'm not sure where we are. What are you talking about, sir? Siller said to Commander Carmichael. Do you know, sir? Carmichael grunted. A slow light dawned in his face. What? Do you know where we are, sir? Let's get back to the globe, Carmichael said. Groves paced nervously. He stopped by the port, looking out intently, peering into the distance. More coming? Lots more. What are they doing out there now? Still working on their tower. The little people were erecting a tower, a scaffolding up the side of the globe. Hundreds of them working together, knights, workmen, archers, even women and boys. Horses and oxen pulling tiny carts were drawing supplies from the city. Well, what'll we do, go back?
I've had enough. All I want now is to go back to Terra.
Where are we, sir? Doc, you seem like you know. Tell me. All three of you seem like you know, but you won't say. Because we want to keep our sanity. That's why. Well, I'd like to know. If we went over in the corner, would you just tell me? Don't bother me, Major.
It just can't be. I mean, how could it be? And if we leave, we'll never know. We'll never be sure. It'll haunt us all our lives. Were we really here? Does this place really exist? And is this place really... You know, there was a second place.
A second place?
Yeah. A place where the people were big.
Yes? What was it called?
Brobdingnag.
Brobdingnag? Sir?
You really think this is...
Doesn't it fit the descriptions? Isn't that what he described? Everything small, tiny soldiers. Little walled cities, oxen, horses, knights, kings, pennants, drawbridges, moats. And those stupid towers. Always building towers, shooting arrows.
Doc, whose description? No answer. Could you whisper it to me? I don't see how it can be. I mean, I've read that book, of course. I read it when I was a child. We all did. Later on, I realized it was a satire of the manners of the times, but good lord. It's either one or the other. It's not a real place.
Maybe some stories have a sixth sense. Maybe they say what's really there, here, in a vision. Maybe we had a vision. They say that he was supposed to have been psychotic toward the end. You know?
Brobdingnag. The other place. If this exists, maybe that exists. Might tell us, we might know for sure, some sort of verification. Yes, our theory, our hypothesis. We predict that it should exist too. Its existence should be a kind of proof. Yeah, the L theory, which predicts the existence of B. We've got to be sure. If we go back without being sure, we'll always wonder. When we're fighting the Ganymedians, we'll stop suddenly and wonder, was I really there? Does it really exist? In all these years we thought it was just a story, but now... Groves walked over to the control board and sat down. He studied the dials intently. See this? The reading is up to LIW. That's 100. Remember where it was when we started? Yeah, of course. At Nezi, it's 0. Why? Nezi is a neutral position. Our starting position back on Terra. We've gone the limit, one way. Carmichael Bassett is right. We've got to find out. We can't go back to Terra without knowing if this really is... happening. You want to throw it back all the way. Not stop at 0. Go on to the other end. Groves nodded. All right. I agree with you. What do we do? Dr. Bassett? We're not going back to Terra, not yet. The two of us, we want to go on.
On? You mean on beyond? To the other side?
They nodded. There was silence. And outside the globe, the pounding and ringing had ceased. The tower had almost reached the level of the port. We have to know.
Well, I'm for it.
Good. I wish one of you would tell me what you're talking about. Could you please just tell me what you're talking about? There he goes. Groves took his hold of the switch. He held it for a moment, sitting silently. Are we ready, boys?
Ready,
Bassett said, and Groves threw the switch. He threw the switch all the way down. Shapes, enormous and confused. The globe floundered, trying to fright itself. Again they were falling, sliding about. The globe was lost in a sea of vague, misty forms. Immense, dim figures that moved on all sides of him beyond the port. Bassett stared out, his jaw slack. What? Faster and faster the globe fell. Everything was diffused, unformed. Shapes like shadows drifted and flowed outside. Shapes so huge their outlines were lost.
Sir! Commander, look!
Carmichael made his way to the port. They were in a world of giants. A towering figure walked past them, a torso so large that they could see only a portion of it. There were other shapes, but so vast and dim they could not be identified. And all around the globe was a roaring, a deep undercurrent of sound like waves of a monstrous ocean. An echoing sound, a booming that tossed and bounced the globe around and around. Groves looked up at Bassett and Carmichael.
Then it's true.
This confirms it. I can't believe it. But this is the proof we asked for. Here it is. It's right out there. And outside the globe, something was coming closer, coming ponderously toward them. Siller gave a sudden shout, moving back from the port, and he grabbed up the Boris gun.
Groves! Throw it in neutral quick. We've got to get away.
Carmichael pushed Siller's gun down. Sorry. This time it's too small for these men. And a hand was reached out toward them, a hand so large that it blotted out the light. Fingers, skin was graping pores, nails, great tufts of hair. The globe shuddered as the hand closed around them from all sides.
General, quick!
Then it was gone. The pressure ceased, winking out. Beyond the port was nothing. The dials were in motion again, the pointer rising up toward Nessie, toward neutral, toward Terra. Bassett breathed a sigh of relief. He removed his helmet and mopped his forehead. Got away. Just in time. A hand? Reaching for us, a big hand. Where were we? We mustn't tell anyone. No one. They wouldn't believe us anyhow. It would be very damaging if they did. A society can learn something like this. Too much would totter. He must have seen it in a vision. And then he wrote it up as a children's story. He knew he could never put down as a fact. Yeah, something like that. So it really exists. Both exist. Perhaps others. Wonderland, Oz, Erewhon, Pelacudar. All the fantasies, all the dreams. Take it easy. We'll simply tell them the ship didn't work, alright? Right. We won't say anything. Just the four of us will know. Just the three of us, I mean. On the vid screen came the image of the Senate leader.
Commander Carmichael, are you safe? Were you able to land? Bar sent us no report. Is your crew all right? We're hanging out about a mile from the city, Terra City, dropping slowly. Psi is full of ships. We don't need help, do we?
No.
Someday, when the war is over, I want to ask the Ganymedians about this. I'd like to find out the whole story.
Yeah, maybe you'll get your chance. Ganymede. Our chance to win the war certainly fizzled, didn't it? The Senate leader's going to be disappointed. You may get your wish very soon, Doctor. The slender yellow Ganymedian moves slowly into the room. His robes gathering across the floor, he stopped bowing. Commander Carmichael nodded stiffly. I was told to come here. They tell me that some of our property is in this laboratory. That's right. If there's no objection, we would like to... Go ahead, take it. Good. I'm glad to see there's no animosity on your part. Carmichael turned abruptly away toward the door. Your property is this way. Come along. Here it is. Your spaceship. Take it. Oh. Our time ship, you mean? Your what? Our time ship. There it is. May I begin moving it into our transport? Get Bassett, quick. Groves hurried from the room. Doctor, this Ganny is after his property. His time machine. His what? His time machine? Groves calmed himself with an effort. He addressed the Ganymedian as casually as he could. May we ask you a couple of questions before you take your time ship? Of course. I will as best I can. This globe, it goes through time, not space. It's a time machine. Correct. The upward reading is the past? Yes. Then you tried our little ship. We went into the past and found everything much smaller. That's right. Because the universe is expanding. And the future, everything has increased in size. Expanded. Yes. Is it a shock? Is it not? You're astonished to find your world reduced in size, populated by minute beings. But size, of course, is relative, as you discover when you get into the future. So that's it. That's just it. Time travel is not a successful undertaking. The past is too small. The future too expanded. Frankly, this ship is a failure.